Welcome, listeners, to Real Wisdom with NK, the Midwest Film Festival's podcast exploring the journeys, insights, and lessons from filmmakers and creatives across the Midwest. This week, we're diving into the actor's journey, breaking into the industry, and making sure you can sustain your career. So if you're looking for tips and tricks on how to stand out in your on-camera auditions, how to get casting directors to notice you, how to get an agent, or to continue to build your relationship with your agent, this is an episode you're not going to want to miss. Do you wish there was a financial institution who understood your creative journey and catered to your unique needs as an artist? Well, look no further. Actors Federal Credit Union was created for the creative community, offering real support, reliable products and services, and banking with empathy. With lower loan rates, higher deposit rates, less fees, and nationwide ATM access, Actors FCU has your back every step of your journey. They've been serving the creative community for over 60 years and are here for you. Visit www.actorsfcu.com to learn more. My dearest actors, class was in session today with our agent Susan Farlik dropping gems and Brittany Ward, casting director du jour, teaching us how to be better actors from the auditioning process all the way to powerfully showing up on set so that we can book and keep on booking. Brittany Ward, she's an entrepreneurial filmmaker. She's worked as a casting director for over a decade, frequently collaborating with world-renowned talent. She then founded the Chicago-based acting studio Accomplished on Camera, where she personally trained hundreds of actors from 2019 to 2023. In 2022, she co-founded 521 Films, which propelled her into her directing and producing era. Brittany's directorial debut, Single Car Crashes, a feature film she wrote, produced, and cast, received the Best New Vision Award at its world premiere at CineQuest Film Festival in Silicon Valley. Susan Farlik Carlson, as a respected figure in the Chicago talent industry, serving as an owner and director of voiceover at Grossman and Jack Talent. Susan's journey began in the commercial agency scene of New York City before returning to her home community in Chicago. She further honed her expertise at O'Connor Casting. That expertise then led her to Grossman and Jack, where she eventually became an owner of the company alongside Bob Schroeder. I am so stoked about this episode today because today we're talking about the actor's journey. And I can speak firsthand about the actor's journey. And I felt it my responsibility to help actors who are in the industry help to boost and sustain their career. And for those who are really working to expand and get into the industry, how to do that powerfully. So today we're talking about the actor's journey, breaking into the industry and sustaining a career. I'm super excited to be talking to my agent. I was actually someone's asked me like, how long have you been my agent? I was like, I think it's been like 15 or 16 years. Yes. Susan with Grossman and Jack. Yes. Mm-hmm. And also with the incredible casting director and writer, Brittany Ward.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Y'all, I'm so excited to sit down with you. I feel like we have these conversations offline, and now we're having them online in a way that's going to help other actors. So I wanted them to know a little bit about who each of you are. So Brittany, tell us a little bit about who you are and how you got into the industry.
Yeah, sure. I am born and raised in the Midwest. I went to college at DePaul and graduated there with a degree in screenwriting, but at that time I had started to focus on casting. I moved to Los Angeles straight away. I've had incredible mentors. Some of my bosses include Barbara Fiorentino, Amber Horn, Daniela Fierro. I worked for 3 years for Lorraine Mayfield, who's David Fincher's casting director, Julie Schubert. And throughout that same period of time, I also cast a lot of independent feature films on my own as a casting director. That independent casting has now in recent years segued into producing full feature films and writing and directing as well.
So dope. Susan, tell us a little bit how you started. I don't even know, you're going to tell me your start. And then, now owning a whole agency, tell us.
It's been a journey because I went to school also in the Midwest, born and raised here near Rockford, and went to school at Illinois Wesleyan From there, I went to New York City, where I started working at a couple commercial agencies. From there, I moved back to the Midwest and found a job working at O'Connor Casting. So kind of got to know the Chicago market at that time, and then found a job at Grossman and Jack Talent. That was in 2009. That's how long we've known each other.
Oh my gosh.
In 2019, Linda Jack retired and I bought the company. So I've owned Grossman and Jack since 2019 with my partner, Bob Schrader.
Oh my goodness. And so both of you, born in the Midwest, from the Midwest, studied, went away to the coast and came back. What made y'all come back?
I came back for a couple reasons, actually. One was family. My family's still here, and they're very important to me, wanted to spend more time. But also because I really love the Chicago community. I think it is really unique, having been in New York and experienced that. What I know about LA, Chicago is its own thing. And I really enjoy it and wanted to build my life and career here.
And how about you, Brittany?
The truth is, I can tell everybody now, I always had it as my master 10-year plan, was to go to LA straight out of college and 10 years later, make different choices for my personal life to be here, similarly closer to family. I moved back home right before I got married, and now I have a daughter who's almost 5.
Goodness.
And so to be around family, raising a daughter was very important to me. That's what's been modeled for me in my life, and I wanted to have that. But I felt very energized coming out of school, and like I wanted to have a very wide approach to networking and building a lot of relationships very quickly in my 20s. And so that's what I did in Los Angeles. I went really wide with all of the people that I was working with and connecting, and was able to then over the years sort of hone in on those relationships, develop those relationships, even though now I live in Chicago and it's remote. So that was my journey. It's opposite for most people. Most people spend time in a regional market first and then go to the coasts. And there's challenges and merits to both directions of that, I think.
So for both of you, this is a question for both of you, from having gone and come back, and even just in recent years, what have you seen of the industry changing? How has it changed in the Midwest specifically, if at all?
That's a good question about in the Midwest specifically. I think I have seen actors improve on camera, their on-camera acting over the years. So I came back around 2017. And at that time, I was casting here and coming from Los Angeles, but having been in Chicago 10 years prior, I knew these actors are very strong. They're very well trained, formally, on stage all the time, incredible comedy, so diverse and distinct and rich and instincts and type, etc. And from LA and then moving back to Chicago, I saw them often completely flatten out on camera, just tamp down all of those skills. And it broke my heart at the time. And it breaks my heart when I see it still with actors here or anywhere. But it really was confounding me at the time. And over the past few years with pandemic, more access to information because so many experts came online, did podcasts, did Instagram lives. There was more information that actors could have from anywhere to become more empowered, right? And so with that empowering, they started to give themselves permission to be more free in their acting choices over the same past 5 years. And that's been really beautiful to see. So I don't have that same criticism anymore like I did 5 years ago.
Got it. And from the agent's perspective, what have you seen?
From the agent's perspective, I think that the last several years with the pandemic world changing so many parts of our lives, what I've seen is the actors are more business savvy than they were before. Understanding that it's a business, understanding a little bit more of what they need to do in order to make a career, right? Yeah. It's not just this fun little hobby that they do or this offhand. No, it's more intentional. And I feel like those are the changes that I've noticed the most is just in everyone's approach to it, because it is more difficult than it's ever been to create art.
Yeah.
And so in order to do it and do it successfully, I feel like there's more intention that I've seen behind the people who are successful.
Yeah, that's really good. This is, all of this is just, as I'm sitting here, it's like feeling it in my chest because as an actor, it's such a personal subject, right? And there is so much to learn, and you're working to balance the art of it, balance being able to keep a roof over your head and feed yourself until you're able to do that with your art, wanting to show up fully, learning about the business, all of those things, and then wanting to also be in relationship with the people who are helping you build your career. And I sit in the space of such gratitude of the incredible relationship that I have with you, Susan, and the relationship that I'm building with you, Brittany, and getting to know you and just know you as a human being, right? And for me as an actor, I know I became more empowered, one, when I started to be more comfortable with myself and feeling that I belonged and that I was enough and that there was nothing that I needed to change to be worthy of being in the room. And that just came over time and practice and access, right? Which came with time and building relationships and getting better at my job. But for those actors who aren't there yet, and you talked about, Brittany, about seeing like some of the on camera, some of the skills, like when they're flattening out and they're not really coming alive, right? What are some of the tips that you would give, both from the casting director's perspective and then also from the agent's perspective? Because you're here cheering us on and making sure we're herding the cats, making sure we're getting the things in so you can even have us in the room, right? But what are some tips from both of your perspectives that you would give for people who aren't there yet?
That's a difficult question because everyone's journey is the same, is different, and nobody does it the same way. And you just said that it took time, that it took the connections, and that's really kind of the magic formula, right? There's no easy way to start your career. There's no magic button. There's no do it this way and you will succeed. Everybody's different. I don't care who you are, you're not doing it exactly the same way anyone else is. It's so individual. It is so unique. Everyone's journey is different. And I think you just need to embrace that it's not going to look like anyone else's career, that you aren't going to be doing it the same way because you don't have the same goals.
Yes. And
as an actor, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
As an actor, you don't want the same career someone else has. You want your own.
That's so good. And I know you have something, Brittany. I want to add on to this, Susan, that I really resonate with that so much. And I really hope the actors that are listening to this are really hearing that. Because I think so often we are desperate for things to be formulaic because we're raised in a society really where we are, the actors and artists, we're the outliers of how we're trained and taught from preschool on up to how things should go. It's like you do this, and then you get an A, and then you do this, or you don't, and you fail, and you do it again. And so I've always equated acting and the artist world to a rock climbing wall versus, we'll say, becoming a doctor or a lawyer is more like monkey bars. All hard, right? Mm-hmm. You get stronger as you go along. But with monkey bars, you see the rung in front of you and you might fall, but you get back up and you know, like, okay, I know how to get to the end is I have to just keep going and go this straight line. Whereas with acting and art, directing, producing, it's a rock climbing wall. You see the top, but there's so many different ways that you can get there. And sometimes you have to step back to go up. And it's just not a linear, formulaic thing. Mm-hmm. And I think so often, and really, again, it's about, I think, breaking the idea that you have to do A plus B equals C, and then I will be Denzel Washington, and that's how it works. Go ahead, Brittany.
Yeah, everything that was just said on this is so important. You describing when you felt comfortable with yourself, that's when your acting improved. Susan, you talking about everybody's journey is going to look differently, and even if they think, I have to do this differently in a profound way to make an impression, every single person is doing it differently. When I'm watching thousands, I've probably seen 25,000 auditions in my life, I'm guessing. It's a conservative guess. And when I'm in one day sitting watching 20 people do a co-star role with 5 lines back to back to back, you'd think, how many different ways could this line read come across? And you'd be surprised. Each person is different. Their energy is different, their life experience, their look, their vocal quality, their age, their height, their type. And so much of that is out of actors' control. And there's a knowledge gap that exists between actors at every level, but especially anyone trying to do anything for the first time. Mm-hmm. And the people that are making those decisions or having these conversations often we're having these conversations in an industry to industry way. It's very valuable to be having it in a publicly accessible way like we are right now,
Yeah.
because that's really important. And when that gap exists and that huge question mark exists for an actor of like, well, how is this going to be received on the other end, especially when it's self-tape, and it always will be now for the foreseeable future. I shouldn't say always, but for the foreseeable future. So they don't know how it's even being received. They're in a feedback void. They can't feel that. And it breeds this desperation and this impulse to say, I have to stand out at all costs. I'm going to grab onto every piece of external information that I've been told once from another actor. Oh, I didn't think about whether they'd actually worked in a while or not. I didn't think about whether they were qualified to give me that advice or not, but I took that advice. So now I'm going to write a letter to Susan and ask her to represent me. And I'm going to make it really funny and clever and kitschy. And I have to do whatever it takes to stand out. I'm going to put these goofy glasses on to show the casting director that I read wears glasses in the script. And then as the casting director, I'm just wanting to see real, truthful, human takes on the material. And what I get instead is 10 self-tapes where I'm like, oh, and that person's got pink glasses. Good to know they can put glasses on. I see that they read the script. I'm entirely distracted by this, right? So that's what happens that I think can be challenging. And it's not a criticism. I'm empathetic to actors in this regard. I think it's really challenging, especially with the rippling effects of the industry, which we can talk about in more detail as we segue into business strategic conversations. But my advice to actors, to answer your question, that are brand new going in front of the camera, is to breathe, to trust where they can, and perhaps most importantly, to treat every audition and every opportunity like it's the last time they're ever going to play that part. Every take. I'm on camera right now.
Yeah.
This is going to be edited, but everything that I say, it has to be coming from me because it's permanent in theory.
That's
every
so
take,
good.
like it's the last time ever. Like it could be shown anywhere without you in the room.
So good. I really love what you said about the feedback loop for those actors who are in it with me, who had to take that transition from going into, knowing all the casting directors and going to get to see them and getting that feedback. And if you're like me, it's like, I work a room. I get the energy from the room. And I had a really difficult time going from being able to step into the casting office to having to put things on tape. It was so hard. And the first thing I did was start taking more classes, right? And working with actors and tutors who were doing this, especially in Atlanta. I was like, because they're like, oh, we've always been doing self-tapes. So I started taking self-tape class from people in Atlanta so I could learn how to do it better. So for people who are wondering though, like, there's so many actors are still listening, like, boo, you've given us nothing. We need some tangible things to take away. What for voiceover specifically, Susan, what are some of the things that you are looking for that you hear that you always know are going to be received well when you send it over to casting? Or you're like, this is a good one. Like, what are just some of the things that stand out?
Sincerity, honesty. I honestly don't care what you sound like. I really don't. I know that sounds really weird for a voiceover agent to say, but I really only care what you tell me. I don't care what you sound like. What are you telling me? I went out for dinner with another casting director, her husband, an actor, and Mickey Grossman's wife. We're all sitting at a table. A waitress comes over, tells us the specials. Every single person ordered the special because she made it sound so good. I don't remember what she sounded like, but I remember that special sounded amazing. So amazing that everyone at the table got it. So that's what I'm looking for. I want the special. Tell me about the special.
Y'all aren't watching me and you're listening to this right now, I'm taking mental notes as an actor, like, copy you, because I have a voiceover due on Monday.
You do have an audition due.
I have an audition due on Monday. So I'm like, okay, copy you.
Yeah.
I have to respond to that and say, one, that is just such a poignant metaphor, and I can picture that exactly with the server. And that is what it feels like. The way you just told that story, that is what it feels like when somebody's a fit. Right? When everybody, all of the people at the decision-making table in this case say, yes, that's special. that's this. That's the special version of this experience right now. And part of that's timing, and part of it's the slate of options that one is presented with. There's a lot of responsibility that comes with that. There's many factors that go in, but that moment is pretty magical. I think it's what keeps a lot of us on the other side of the camera in these roles, which are challenging jobs,
Right.
tiresome jobs, often unrecognized work.
Unsung.
Yeah, unsung. Thank you. Better.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's part of it. And funny that this voiceover agent sitting next to me is not as drawn to what a voice sounds like. Me as an on-camera casting director, I do care what you sound like. Vocal quality is like a massive indicator for me in terms of fit for role. I think it's an underutilized tool that actors leave on the table a lot of the times in terms of character work. And the suggestion is not to purposefully put a voice on, because I don't want fake accents where I can avoid it. I don't want speech cadences that are unnatural for somebody. But I just think it's important to think about voice, pitch, and tempo relative to character. And actors often skip that part. The importance for me is that I think that your vocal quality, in many ways, from my experience watching on camera auditions, when I've seen a picture of somebody and then what I experience hearing and seeing them in the scene at the same time, shifts. And I think that that's more tied to your energy than even the way you look, in my experience. Whether somebody's mentioning it or not, you know?
I do care what people sound like.
She's like, but hold on. She's like, but hold on.
I care a lot, but more so when I talk about, I care more what you sound, what you're saying. That ties into tempo, energy, all of the things, right? I think that is a big part of telling a story and telling someone how you feel. But as far as what your voice sounds like, there's nothing you can do about this instrument, right? So you can use this instrument in the different ways, like you said, Brittany. I think that's really important, because it is an instrument and it is part of how you tell stories, right? Yes. Whether you're on camera or behind a microphone, you need your voice to tell a story. But what you're telling is more important than the actual sound.
That's so critical for actors to hear that, and thank you for that. And it's what I heard when you said that the first time, was that you're not dismissing people or picking people based on what is the register of their voice, right? Because same as I'm not doing that with look for on-camera casting, because your job, there's so many different roles, right? There's so many different roles, and somebody's vocal quality is going to be like, oh, they're not right for this, they're not right for this, till suddenly there's a role that comes up and you say, well, wait, that person's vocal quality is perfect for this. Same with headshots, same with type, same with all of that, right? And so those are not things that you can immediately change, but they're things that people on the other side are remembering for future opportunities.
That's so good. And that remembering for future opportunities, y'all know that just because a no does not mean a never. And so you're showing up powerfully. And I love what you said, Brittany, about like, as if it was the last take and the last time you could ever do this thing. Do it powerfully, because yes, you may not be right for that role. And you are then someone like, damn, that was good, just not a good fit for this. And you're thinking about that actor for the next thing, or like 10 things from now. And here's the thing that I have learned as an actor, and one thing that I've always done is I did every internship I could possibly do. And I interned, and I was like in casting. I interned, and I've keyed in every department on the production side so that I understand how everything works, right? I did my internship at O'Connor Castings. And so I got to see how many folks that y'all have to see as casting directors every single day, and how many times you're looking through actors' access, and oh my God. I just knew very quickly it wasn't for me.
Fair.
Not for me. I don't have that. I don't have those types of patience. But what I did find was that no matter what y'all are always, whether you're the agent, the casting director, the producer, you're always looking for the solution to the problem. Meaning, I'm looking for you to be the fit. I am rooting for you to be the fit for this thing. Whereas, you are literally on our team. You have our back. And if, as an actor, if you feel like the people around you or the people that you're working with don't have your back, one, do the internal dialogue with yourself and kind of get present to how you're showing up. And then once you get present to that and take accountability, then maybe it's not a fit who you've been working with. also when it comes to the agency side of things, right? Casting directors, you can only do what you can do because they're going to be there. But just some tips for y'all. So speaking of tips, because I love what you said about the glasses and people like desperately grasping to things and wanting the feedback, right? So today we're going to give some constructive feedback about how to and how not to approach casting directors and agents when you want to be signed with them or you're wanting to get cast. Because I know y'all have seen all the crash and burns. And at the end of the day, what I always work to get people present to at the end of the day, like they're human beings. They're human beings doing a job that they hopefully love, and they're human beings. So maybe that thing wasn't the cool thing to do. So what are some cool things to do and some thumb down things that you've experienced without putting anybody on blast?
I'm totally okay to put people on blast about this. Just kidding.
But we're going to do that later once we spill tea, y'all.
Okay.
That's for the exclusive footage. You got to be a member.
You might hear this and resemble the remark. Yeah, you do. I won't name names, but you know who you are.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you want to start? Do you want?
Jump in if you have something. I have many, and so I'll try to fill in what you don't start
Okay.
with.
Well, obviously it feels hard, right? When you're first starting out to get someone's attention. And the best you can do is be yourself and show what you have to offer. And that's your resume, that's your headshot, that's all of your marketing materials. If you have got a voiceover demo, if you've got a reel to share, that's how you get noticed. You have to trust that you're going to get a response. You have to trust that you have a space in the industry. The desperation that Brittany talked about, it's real. And I'm empathetic also. I know how hard it is. But we are people. We are trying to do a job. You said no doesn't mean never. That's also correct. And you know what? Invite us to things. Invite us into your careers. Invite us into the show you're doing. Show us the reel you just made. Show us some scene work. Show us whatever we can use to help you in your journey. I know that people who are starting out don't have big resumes. You don't have a demo. You don't have a reel. And that's okay too. But share what you've got. Share. You've taken classes. You have things from your classes. I've listened to demos from classes. I've seen people straight out of classes. There's no shame in that. You're honing your craft. And I've met some really terrific people who are just starting out.
There are two things I have to absolutely jump on and underline with my full support of what you just described. And that is, people love to be invited to things more than they like to be tasked with things. I can expand upon that in a second. But the other piece is what you're describing in terms of the materials. You can't fake it.
Right.
If you don't have, you can't fake it. You can't trick someone that's got 15, 20, 30 years of industry experience on you and has seen every version of this email, every version of this resume. They know exactly why you made the choices that you made when you sent this very clever, kitschy email. I know why the actor puts on the pink glasses. They can't trick me on their resume by saying, I've been a series regular, when that means they made YouTube episodes with cell phones in film school. But people do that because they know that that's what they need to have to get to the next level. But they might not be ready for the next level because they don't have those things, right? So the don't try to trick somebody. Don't put together a speed reel with footage that doesn't exist. Instead, send the 2 amazing tapes that you made in a class that you're really proud of that are you. Don't hit somebody with an email that's going to take them 20 minutes to respond to thoughtfully, especially if that person is a near or complete stranger to you. Ooh. Instead, think about that person is so busy and so much busier than I can even realize. They're going to look at this email for 10 seconds. What do I want them to see in 10 seconds that's not trying to trick them, that is trying to build relevance for them? Maybe the actor knows they aren't relevant to them yet. And that self-consciousness is what drives some of these other sort of projected overcompensational behaviors, right?
Yep.
Even if you're not yet relevant to somebody, you can also call that out. You can also handle for that. You can say, I just graduated from this great college. I have a show I'm really proud of and I would love to comp you. I'm going to a party. This is a silly thing about me, but all I really want from my actor friends is that they invite me to parties and premieres. They never do, very rarely. Like I would say 1%. I just want to be invited to the party. I just like to hang. I've said it a lot of times and nobody hears it. But what I don't want to do is put together a bunch of homework that somebody else needs to do for themselves about getting representation.
Ooh, come on. That's it. So really want y'all to hear their time is precious. All of our time is precious. When you're working in this industry, it's like you're hurry up and waiting. You have nothing to do and you have 8,000 things to do all at once. So some pieces of advice that I will give y'all is to make sure you're present for the casting directors. What are they working on right now? What are they casting? Sometimes you may not be able to find all that information, but honestly, there's so many things you can find on the interwebs. And when you do that, there's a rhythm to the thing. Like if you know they're in the middle of casting a big thing, you may not hear from them for a little bit. Doesn't mean that you won't. Don't send 17 emails. There's a rhythm to it. Give it some breath. Trust, as they said, that you will be responded to. Give it some space. And if it's been 6 months, okay, you know what? Hey, just popping it back to the top of your email thread. The other thing I will say is above the fold. For those of you who never had to open a letter before, think of a letter that you folded in 3 pieces and put it in an envelope. That above the fold, so you only had to look at the first part of the fold, that's how long you want your email to be when you're talking to someone, especially, like you said, a relative stranger. Give them just a couple of sentences and hyperlink some things and send your headshot and let it be. That's the advice that I would give to you. Now, at struggling actors, I overstand. You're working to balance all of the things. You want to make sure that you can eat and pay your bills and then go on these auditions. Now in the age of self-tapes, it is much more flexible where you're not like, damn, I gotta go run to the office, which is a beautiful flexibility. I now tape most of my things in the middle of the night, even though I like to have natural light, but that's a whole other conversation. So usually middle of the night. But for actors who are like, how do I balance being able to pay my bills and do this thing? What are some advice, if you have any, that you could give actors? Like, how are they going about balancing things and making sure that they're prioritizing when they do have an audition, getting it in?
I can respond to that because I work in deadlines. My deadlines are quick and fast for the voiceover portion of my company, but I know that Bob on his side with the on-camera has pretty important deadlines too. If you don't submit your tape by this time, sorry, it doesn't get seen, you know? And so I think that if you're the kind of person who could benefit from setting a schedule, from writing it out, writing it down, Post-it notes, whatever you need to remind yourself, or just kind of do it right away. You know, you get something, you have time, I need more time. I need to think about it. I need to marinate in it. No, you don't. Do it. Do it right now. Do it while you're thinking about it. And then let it sit. And guess what? Come back to it when you have another minute because you still have time because you did it so early. So now you have time to look at it, to critique it on your own, to make any changes you want to make before you send it. I'm a big proponent of do it right away.
Yeah.
And then if you want to make changes, you have the time.
Wow, shots fired. I needed to hear that one because I'm very much like, let me give it some space.
Yeah, no.
And then I'm like, oh my God, it's 2 a.m. and I can't even talk anymore. And yeah, just doing it right then. Just do it then and then go back and give yourself some spaciousness to do it again. That's one I can really grow for me with voiceover for sure. I'm a sticky note person. I put VO and I'll put it on my TV and on the door so I have to see the thing. Like, don't forget to do this thing.
But I think the same can be said for any project or any kind of audition or opportunity that you have. Put down your thoughts right away or put something on tape or on the microphone right away and then come back to it. See what you did. Make the necessary adjustments and then you've got a better shot at getting a response.
How about you, Brittany? What you
While
think?
you can't go onto camera right away because the copy's much longer and the process takes longer in preparation, what you can do right away is open the sides and read them out loud right away. Like, what are your pure instincts? Read them out loud right away. Read the lines over and over again out loud out of your mouth. And that will kick off the memorization process. And you really have to know all of the lines before you can do any real dropping in or living as the character, right? That time management piece is challenging. The turnaround times are tight for on-camera auditions. They have been for a long time and they will continue to be. The SAG strike provided some rules that made it, 48 business hours essentially, or 2 full business days, and that's helpful. But even still, there's caveats to that of like, well, unless you need to quickly recast somebody right away, or unless somebody needs to travel tomorrow. So in any case, that pressure, that time pressure, is a necessary hurdle in a way for determining whether somebody is ready for the challenges of being on set. Sometimes somebody does fall out right away and a role is recast and you have to be ready to jump in. It's my record. I hope to never have to break this, but I'll tell you one thing is I was casting a movie that shot in Los Angeles and we had hired a Russian speaking role, but we had hired them off of their demo reel. We made a straight offer. They were speaking Russian on the tape. They knew that the role required fluent Russian. They got into makeup. They had full hour-long tattoos done. There was 90 extras this day on day 2 of a $3 million movie. And that's when the person said, I don't have a translator. Where's my translator for Russian? I need a dialect coach. And we had to obviously fire that person immediately. This was a horror story. And I had to recast that role, a big role, 6th on the call sheet, in 2 hours flat. I had an actor from Los Angeles who was in the shower we couldn't get in touch with that was in the makeup chair within 2 hours. And he had to prepare that entire part. So that's an extreme example. And again, I hope to never beat that time. But that is a real thing. And the practice of grappling with these time constraints does work out the muscles in your brain that allow you to show up for those things when it's more meaningful, when the role is yours.
God, that's so good. And I really hope actors hear that. It's like all of these, and this was a big piece of advice that I got early on, was that to be excited about my auditions, to really get in a space where you're excited, that is like a majority of your work is going to be auditioning. So get excited about that. But the process is what's really going to set you up for the time that you actually get the job. Those muscles are so worked out that you're like, let's go. I know how to do this thing. I know how to work under pressure. I know how to pivot quickly and show up powerfully in my gift. And it only comes with practice because yes, I can say firsthand, it can be very stressful, but you do learn how to kind of like alchemize all of those things that are going on within your body and then allow it to be the thing that shows up on camera, on the mic. And you're right. So it's like none of it's wasted. None of this time like learning how to deal with these time constraints, as stressful as it might feel, is wasted. As long as you don't waste it and you really learn from it and kind of like take that on. 2 things. One, for people who are newer to the business, I want you to, Brittani, quickly explain, like you said, 6 on the call sheet. Explain what that means.
Oh, sure. So on a call sheet, there's like the roles are listed numerically by essentially how much screen time the script dictates that person will have. So number 1 on the call sheet is
Viola
the
Davis.
first bill is Viola Davis. Yes, exactly. Is whoever's in the credits first. Usually, it doesn't always line up that way. There's some other politics involved with credit order, but largely it's just the largest role. So when I say 6th on the call sheet, I mean it was the 6th largest role that day. It wasn't a quick 2-line role.
Right. Thank you for that. And then from both of you, earlier, Susan, you were talking about something that you've seen is with the pandemic, the actors have become more business savvy. I want to talk to you both about, from your perspective, how important is balancing honing your craft as an actor and knowing the business. Do you find like it's a 50-50? Is the business like, something you should worry about later? Do you see that actors are more successful when they understand both? What have you seen the impact of them being more business savvy?
Yeah, I think you have to have a healthy balance, honestly. You don't go into a temp agency not knowing how to type. Right? I run a temp agency. That's what I do. I find actors temporary jobs. So you got to come in with some skills.
It's so true.
In order for me to help you find a job. If you don't know how to type, you can't be a secretary. That's just how that works. So there has to be a healthy amount of balance. I'm all for classes. I'm all for expanding what you do and your skills. But also, what do you want your career to look like? Don't forget, it's a career. I think people get lost in desperation, especially as they're starting out. But no one knows what your career should look like, except for you. What do you want to do? And then set out to do it.
And I think to that point, again, actors really listen to that. If you're not clear on what it is that you want to do and how you want your career to look, it's like not knowing where you open up the GPS when you're like, I don't know, just take me wherever you want to go. I just want to be a star. Like,
and I don't expect you to know exactly what you want your career to look like, but are you a music theater person? Do you want to be on stage? Do you want to do drama? Do you want to do comedy? Where do you want to start your journey? Nobody knows where you're going to exactly land. I don't know where I don't know where I'm going to land. But I think I have a pretty good idea. And I think if you're an actor or performer, you should come in with some ideas about where you want to go.
And I think that's so good. And I could say a big mistake that I made early on in my career is like, I want to do all of those things. And I'm just like, well, whatever you think I should be doing first, as opposed to being, when I really started to be about my business, being like, this is what I want right now. I will have a series regular role. I know that's going to happen for me. I just believe that's going to happen. What do I need to be doing? And I remember I sat down with Becca McCracken and she looked at my resume and she's like, well, right now it looks like you're a musical theater actor. And you need to get some, like you've been, because I went to conservatory in London. And all that was on my resume for a lot of it was just like theater stuff. And she's like, you're saying you want to be an on-camera actor. This is not what your resume is saying. And just like helping me kind of reconfigure things. But that's when I started to be about my business and see, I'm like, oh, okay, there's a different way I can go about it. Whereas before I was like, well, I can do all the things. Like just put me in, coach. And there has to be a perspective of where you want to go first. So I thank you for that and uplifting that. Anything to add, Brittany?
Not much in terms of tactical advice about this, because I think that it's different for each person. But what I'm hearing from these last two questions and our answers as we talk about them, the challenges of how to make decisions as an actor relative, I want to name relative to class privilege, financial situation, etc. I think it's really important to talk about that, because I'll use myself as an example. I have a lot of the successes that I have at the age that I have them, in part because of earned privilege and earned efforts and working really hard. I've earned a lot of it. And I also have a lot of unearned privileges that have gotten me further faster than some of my counterparts, and not as far as others who had more generational wealth and got to pass on things unless they were paying them X amount of money with no fear in the world, right? So it is important, I think, to be aware of the business and also the business of your life, like how business is affecting you. So if you know those goals and where you want to take your career, and you're aware of the challenges that exist for you financially and logistically, if you're working a full-time job and you have a newborn baby and you need to do a self-tape at 2:00 in the morning.
Yeah.
Right? Can you give yourself, where can you get the autonomy to say, I'm going to pass on this job because it's not enough money to not work that waitressing job, right? And I think another important part of the business element is that the industry is changing rapidly. And so to be aware of what those changes are will help an actor stay more agile, more professional, and more ready, whatever ready means to them in their life with their challenges, their financial situation, familially or individually, and then make a choice and move forward from there. And move forward onto this rock on the rock climbing wall, onto this rock, backwards, to the side, to a completely different rock climbing wall because this one's too hard.
That's so good. And thank you, Brittany, for really naming the thing about privilege and access, because that is so true. And I can speak firsthand towards that, like not having either, and also being present to the privileges that I do have within the confines of being born in this Black Mexican body in Topeka, Kansas, to a single parent, all those different things. So even within that, I am present to the privileges that I did have that were afforded to me, different schools that I was able to go to, whether it be on scholarship or not. I was able to have some different opportunities. Also in the space of relationship and having an incredible agent that really, the way that you partnered with me, I can speak firsthand to the success that I've had as a voiceover actor came from you investing time in me.
Thank you.
it's the truth. And because I could not afford to take classes. There was a time I was like, there's no way that I can take these voiceover classes. And Susan was like, okay, then, and I was like, I really want to do this thing. I know I have an instrument. I know I have a unique voice. Why am I not booking work? I know there's just something that I need to learn. She's like, so she challenged me. She's like, okay, I will help you. Every time you have an audition, come in. And this was pre-pandemic, so, we were able to just go in the office whenever. So I started going in every single time. And for y'all that don't have voiceover agents yet, know that voiceover auditions, when they come, they usually come in like a plethora, like a plenty. And then you don't hear from anybody for like 3 months. And then there's like 17 of them come all at onse. But it was like, at that time, it was like a cadence of like 2 to 3 a week. And so I would just make time and go in. And I did that for like a year, maybe almost 2 years, and then I booked McDonald's, and I started booking, and it was like a moment for us, and it was like, and then the Illinois lottery one, that was a sobbing moment because that was when I was finally able to like qualify for insurance for SAG, and it came from that voiceover. Mm-hmm. And it came because you invested that time in me. And then I also was like, okay, what am I gonna have to move around to show up at the studio every day or at the agency to get this help? And, voiceovers don't take that long. So it's like, could be 20, 30 minutes I'm in there, but I was getting guidance and it helped to crack the code. And because I didn't have the access of being able to afford classes. So just finding different ways that you can also like work with your team, work with even other fellow actors to help you do things, I think is really helpful.
I want to respond to that and just say that, NK, you put in the time, you put in the effort, and that is a lesson to all the actors listening. Put in the effort, put in the time, use your resources that you have. Yeah, not everybody has the same resources. We don't. I love that you talked about privilege. I love that we're having this conversation because not everyone has access. But you do have resources that are available to you, and you should use them.
Yeah. Don't be afraid. It's a hard lesson that's been hard learned for me. And this podcast wouldn't be possible without this lesson. It's like, don't be afraid to ask for help. Mm-hmm. Don't be afraid to ask for help. And I am someone who grew up not having a lot of people. I was like, I had family that I could trust, but there's a lot of people that I couldn't trust because of the environments that I was put in. And yes, I got to go to private school, but with people that didn't look like me. And I was reminded every day that I was there on scholarship. So that taught me not to trust people that didn't look like me or to always be giving them a side eye. And most of the people that are helping me with this podcast don't look like me. And I trust each and every one of them. And we move at the speed of trust, right? So be cognizant of the people that you keep around you. Move at the speed of trust. Give time. When you give time, you start to build the right community around you that wants to actually see you succeed. And by asking for help, y'all, it can shift everything in your life, truly. So, last question for y'all. Very hard-hitting question. What are you loving? What are you leaving? And what are you longing for in this season or even just today? Loving, leaving, longing. I'll go first. I'm loving being in this space with y'all and really moving the barrier of access to information for everyone who will be able to listen to this podcast for years to come. I am leaving the idea that I need anything else to be exactly who I need to be. I have everything I need. And I am longing for the person that is equally longing for me.
Beautiful.
And is aligned. Don't long and not be aligned. Hold on. Let me. Okay.
And Kay, when I met you and you said that, what are you loving? What are you longing for? What are you leaving? I've used it in my life. It was one of the most profound moments of meeting you. It stuck in my ears, and I hope it does for the actors listening as well. I am loving my work with my producing partner, Angie Gaffney, a close collaborator, Jack Newell. We've got some exciting projects that we're working on right now that have a lot of momentum, and it's feeling really good. It's feeling like next level for us and for feature film in Chicago. So I'm loving that. I am leaving the pressure that I put on myself to be the one that teaches somebody a lesson that they might need to learn from somebody else. I like to teach. I'm grateful when people ask for my advice, but sometimes part of the knowledge that I want to share comes in a package that's like, I need to take this person maybe before they're ready on this journey to learn this right away. And I don't think that that's great for them. And I think it's from an ego place. I'm leaving that. And I'm looking forward to writing and directing more.
Come on. So good.
I am loving being an agency owner. I am loving that I have opportunity now to take what has been built and what I've continued to build and move it in a new direction. I am leaving the idea that I have to do everything. I like what you said, Brittany, that it's not your lesson to teach. It's someone's lesson to learn, but you don't have to teach it. And so I'm also kind of leaving that behind, that I don't have to do everything. And I'm looking forward to the renaissance of art we're going to see in the coming years. Because while we're all experiencing this time in history a little differently, I know that history has taught us that after some hard times, we see a resurgence of art, and I can't wait for what comes next.
For those of you who are just listening to this, Brittany and I are effusively like clapping and grasping, like, yes, because we so,
It's coming.
Oh,
It's
yes.
coming.
Yes, we're believing for it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, well, now we're going to spill some tea and get to some more exclusive footage, and we're going to have a conversation. So the thing I'm going to want to know from y'all is the biggest crash and burn rookie mistakes that you have seen an actor make. Like, crash and burn, rookie, don't ever do it. You're done, toasted, roasted. And we'll talk about that in just a second. Brittany, Susan, thank you so much for sharing your knowledge, sharing from such a heart-forward space, for helping to remove barriers for actors, answer questions, help them demystify things for those who are just coming into the industry, and to empower the actors that maybe you're working to move to the next level and not able to figure out why. The information that you just gave, I'm confident will help them. This has been another incredible episode of Real Wisdom with NK. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you again next month. If you want to learn more about the podcast and how you can get access to exclusive conversations, you're going to make sure you go to midwestfilm.com. You also want to make sure that you're pulling up to our screenings the last Monday of every month at the Claudia Cassidy Theater located in the Chicago Cultural Center. Now, if you want to hear us spill tea, stick around and head to midwestfilm.com for our exclusive after-show content, Tea Time with NK, because the real talk happens after the episode. Let's be serious. So make sure you follow, subscribe, and share the show with someone who needs the scoop. Until next time, stay curious, stay bold, and as always, keep it real.